What up everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you how you can build your very first Cucumber framework, and this framework is going to comprise of JUnit, Selenium, and Cucumber and Gherkin. And what it's going to do is just simply take a nice Gherkin feature file, automate the process, and I'm just going to show you how we can interact with certain elements using Selenium on a web page, and then we're going to take a look at the report. So let's hop into it. Alright, just as some prerequisites, you will need to have Java and Maven installed. I already have some videos on that, so I will leave the links in the description, as well as Eclipse. That's the IDE I'm going to be using. So once you have that, you should be good to go. Alright, so if you don't know what Gherkin is just simply a great language that allows, testers to write these requirements using English-like terms, and then this feature file can be passed to our automation analyst or engineer, where they can write the code for these given and when then statements. So I'm just going to show you how that is set up so you can get started. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is open up my launchpad, search for Eclipse, and get that fired up. So I'm just going to wait for that to load. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is simply head over to File, you're going to go to New, and then click Other. And what you want to do is go into Maven and create a Maven project, click Next. And then create a simple project. You're going to click Next. Then you want to enter a group ID. I'm just going to enter Gherkin testing in both my group ID and in my artifact ID. Once you have that, click Finish. Now we have our project. What I'm going to do is just simply close my old project so I don't confuse anyone and keep everything simple. Alright, now that I have those closed, what I'm going to do is open my Gherkin testing folder that we created. And we're going to go into the POM file. In our POM file, this is where we're going to add our dependencies. So just open up with a new dependencies tag, and we're going to do a search for our JUnit dependency, as well as Selenium, Cucumber, and Gherkin. So these are the main dependencies that we're going to add. So I'm just going to go into my Maven repository and bring in these dependencies and get that started. Alright, I'm just going to make this a little smaller so I can bring in my screen. I'm just going to hop over to Maven repository. What I'm going to do is just simply search for JUnit, and I'm just going to simply look for one that's pretty stable, and I'm just going to copy and paste it in here. And I'm just going to do this for the others, so I'm just going to speed through this so I don't have to waste too much time. Alright, now that we have all our dependencies, I'm just going to format this file. So what I'm going to do is do Command A Shift F, and what that's going to do is indent this page for me. I have a little error right here. I'm just going to do a Maven install, make sure everything looks good. We have a build success. I'm still seeing this error, so what I'm going to do is just simply try to fix it. Alright, it's still showing up. I don't know why. I'm just going to close my POM file and relaunch it. Hopefully that should fix it. Alright, the error went away. So we're good. Alright, next I'm just going to open up the properties tag, and in here I'm just going to add my Maven compiler source and Maven compiler target, so I can set my GRE system library from the 1.5. I'm just going to update the Maven project, force update, and now we have our Java SE 1.8, so that looks great. Alright, next. What we're going to do is just simply create our first Gherkin scenario, but first we need to go to Eclipse and go to the marketplace. And what we're going to do under the search is, it's a little tight, I'm not too sure why it's like that, but just type in Gherkin and then click enter. Alright, it's loading. Alright, now we have our Cucumber Eclipse plugin. Just simply click install, give it some time, let it do its thing. Alright, now that that's installed, what you want to do is just simply read over the terms and conditions, and once you do that, you just want to simply click I accept and click finish. Alright, we're just going to give this some time for the installation to finish. Alright, you may just get a warning. You just want to click install anyway. Alright, now it says restart Eclipse. Just restart now. Alright, let's wait till Eclipse fire back up. Alright, I'm going to do simply close the welcome screen, and now what I'm going to do is go to my source, test, and resources. And what I'm going to do is simply create a new file, and what we're going to create is a feature file, and I'm just going to call this test.feature. Alright, so the .feature extension, that's going to create a sample feature file for us where we have the author, so you can put your email address. We have a feature, and this is pretty much a list of scenarios. You have your scenario, a business rule, through a list of steps with arguments. You have your given, when, and then statements. You know, the given is just some precondition step. The when, this is like some type of key action. And then you have the then to observe the output or the validation. And then we have and buts to enumerate and add other logic to it as well. So we're just going to be going through some of these keywords and see what they can do. So what we want to do right now is just simply comment this sample feature file that we receive, and what we're going to do is build our own feature file testing a real life scenario. So we're going to be using Selenium and Java to test going to this web page, and we're going to click on the luster paper collection. From there, we're going to make sure that we're on this page, and then we're just going to click the silly peak print, and that's it. So we're just going to use the given, when, then statements and write our feature file. So let's do it. So I'm just going to write a simple feature file, and the name I'm going to give it is testing scenarios related to art homepage. You know, something simple. So for my scenario, I'm just going to give it scenario 1, and the user clicks the luster paper. So that's what we're going to do. And from there, we're going to click on the silly key print. Alright, that looks good. So we can also add some extra comments. So I'm just going to say user refers to the person interacting with the website. Okay, so you can add some comments if a feature file, just to give it a little more description if needed. So now that's out the way. What we're going to do now is we have to add, let's say we have a scenario. What we're going to do is add the given. So given the user is on the home page, that's the very first thing that needs to happen. So once we get to this home page, when the user clicks the luster paper collection, so that's the next instruction we want to give it. Click the luster paper collection. Now let's just hop over to the web page and then click on the luster paper, and now we have that page displayed, and the luster paper collection displays or is displayed. Let's say that. Okay, that looks good. All right, and the last thing we want to do right now is just add the then statement, and what we're going to say is then the user clicks the silly key print, and that's it. Just something simple for now. So we're going to go here and then click the silly key print. All right, so now we have our little feature file, our one scenario with our given, when, and given, when, then statement, as well as an and. All right. So what we want to do right now is we need to get back our step definitions. So what you're going to do is go to your Gherkin project, scroll down to configure, and click convert to Cucumber project. So what that's going to do right now is highlight all our steps. And since they're yellow, that's telling us that we do not have a step definition file. So that's what we're going to create. All right, so what you want to do right now is just simply go to your feature file. I'm just going to rename this to something like home. Alright, next what I'm going to do is go to my SRC test resources, go to new, then other, and then go to your folder. We're going to create a new folder, and in here I'm just going to call it features, and then click finish. Alright, that looks good. Now we have our features folder. I'm just going to move that home feature and put it into the features folder. Now that looks good. So what we're going to do now is go back into our feature file, click run as, and then run as a cucumber feature, and let's see what happens. Alright, what we can see in our console, we have some snippets of our step definition. So these were auto generated by the Gherkin and Cucumber. So rule of thumb, when you move or rename your feature files, please make sure you go to run configurations, and make sure the feature path is updated correctly. Sometimes you may get an error if you change certain things like your folder or your feature name, and sometimes you have to realign it. So make sure that's matching. Once that's good, you can just simply click close. Alright, from there what I'm going to do is to head back into my console, and what we see is we have our scenario, which is one scenario with 4 steps. And what I'm going to do is just simply scroll, and I'm just going to copy all of these given, when, and then snippets so we can add it to our new step definition file, which we are about to create. So now that we have this copied, what we're going to do is just head over to the src test java, and in there what we want to do is create a new package. I'm just going to name it com.jahmal.stepdefs, and you can name it anything that you want, but this is normally the standard. Alright, so within that package, I'm just going to create a new class, and I'm just going to call this class stepdefs. Alright, now that we have our stepdefs class created, what we're going to do is simply paste that snippet in here, and now what we're going to do is simply import all our given, when, and then statements. Alright, that looks good. Next, all I'm just going to do is get rid of this default pending exception. We don't need this. We're just going to use this area to import our own code and our own logic. Alright, now that looks good. So now that I'm on the home page, what I'm going to do is just create a new variable. I'm just going to say public static web driver. I'm just going to call this driver, and I'm just going to import it. Alright, so now that we have our Selenium driver imported, that is good. What I'm going to do now is just head over to my src test resources, and I'm just going to go to other, create a folder, and I'm just going to name this folder drivers, and then click finish. So right here I'm just going to store my Chrome driver. So head over to Google, do Chrome driver search, and depending on your current release or version you're using, you have to install your Chrome version. So right now I'm currently on version 97. So what I'm going to do is simply download the 97 version. I'm just going to download the version for the Mac 64. Once that's downloaded, I'm just going to unzip it, and then you should see your Chrome driver. I have 2 currently, but I had one day before. So what I'm going to do is just copy this Chrome driver, and I'm going to go to my drivers folder that I just created. So I'm just going to go into the properties and just show in my finder, and I'm just going to paste that driver right there. Okay, so once that's there, I'm just going to make sure, do a quick refresh and make sure that my driver is there. Now everything looks good. So what I'm going to do is just simply add a before annotation, and what this is going to do is just simply allow me to set up my driver before I go into my Gherkin given, when, then statements. So I'm just going to call this public void setup, and I'm just going to say system.setProperty, and we're going to say webdriver.chrome.driver is equal to the location of that driver where we just downloaded. Alright, so go to that location. You're going to copy from the src, go forward. Okay, let me just add the semicolon. Okay, that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is just say driver is equal to new Chrome driver, and now I'm just going to simply import that Chrome driver. Now that looks good. Alright, next what I'm going to do is go into the given statement, and what I'm going to do is add a comment, and this comment is simply telling me to launch the Angular Plus URL. So I'm just going to say driver.getURL, and the URL is going to be shop.angularplus.com. So I'm just going to paste that in there. Next, what I'm going to do is tell the script to maximize the window. So I'm just going to say driver.manage, and then .window, and then .maximize. So this is going to make the window full screen. just so I can get a good view when I'm watching the test. And then I'm just going to set some timeouts. So I'm just going to say driver.manage.timeouts, and I'm just going to add an implicit wait. I'm just going to give it a wait about 10 seconds. And what it's going to do is say if the page doesn't really load within that time, just simply close and crash the app. And there's definitely better ways of handling the waits, but I'm just going to do this quickly for demo purposes. Alright, so I'm just going to add my comments to maximize screen and close driver. Alright, so I do have a little issue here. Oh, my 10 went away, so I'm just going to fix that. That looks good. And now I have my given method. What I'm going to do now is just go to Google Chrome, and I'm just going to go inspect. And what I'm going to do is just inspect this luster paper element. And what I want to do is simply copy that X path so I can interact with this element. And what I'm going to do is just go back into my Eclipse, and I'm just going to create a new web element. So I'm just going to say a web element luster paper collection, and this is equal to driver.findElementBy, and we're just going to use the X path in this case. And what I'm going to do is just paste that X path location that we just copied, and now that looks good. I'm just going to import that web element to get rid of that error. Now everything looks great. So now we have our web element. Now we have to add, I'm just going to copy and paste my JavaScript, and what it's going to do is just simply allow me just to scroll down while looking for that element, and then simply once it finds that element in view, it's just going to tell this to click on that element. Alright, next what we're going to have is add a thread, but instead of having this in this given, I'm just going to write a simple method so I can use this method throughout the different given when then statements. Alright, so I'm just going to say public static wait in scenario. So I'm missing my void, so let me add the void. I'm just going to say public static void, and I'll have my wait. Now that looks good. Now I have to just simply remove the 2000 milliseconds and just add a little calculation, so seconds times 1000, and that should give me the same output. If I put 3 in the middle, now I can say, hey, we're just going to wait for 3 seconds. Alright, so that looks good. And what I'm going to do is just simply bring in some of the elements that I've captured in another video. So I created an add to cart bot. I'm just going to bring back some of those web elements that I captured before so I can speed up the process. So what I'm going to do is bring in the web element for the luster web paper page title. So this is going to verify that that page is displayed. So once I'm on that page, I'm just going to make sure luster paper title is visible, and that is good. So alright, so what I'm going to do is now add some logic here, and what I'm going to do is add an assert. Alright, that looks good. Next, let's go to the then statement. I'm just going to paste that paper bliss option. It should be a silly key, but we're just going to rename it later on. Alright, so now I have, so in the before class, this is going to kick off. It's going to set up the driver for me. Alright, what we're going to do is just back check everything just to make sure everything looks good. Everything does look good. What I'm going to do right now is just split my windows so I can get a little better view. And what I need to do right now is head to my src test java, and then I'm just going to create a new package. In here, I'm just going to call it com.jahmal.runners, and I'm just going to click finish. So in here, I'm just going to create a new class, and I'm just going to create a new homepage runner so we can fire off our script. So type homepage runner. Once you're done, click finish. Alright, now that we have our class, we're going to bring in some new annotations. So we can bring in the run with, and we're going to run with the cucumber class. And also we're going to bring in the add cucumber options. So bring those in, that looks good. So what this is going to allow us to do is run our script via tags. We can use plugins to show us our different type of reports. We can use the glue to tell us where our step definition is located. So we're going to show you how to get started with that. So what I'm going to do is just add a test and tag to our Gherkin. And now I'm just going to bring that add test in our tags. Next, we need to add our features. So we got to tell it where our features is located. So I'm just going to go to my feature file and just see where that at. And then you're going to paste your feature file. Make sure you add the relative path. So add your / and then make sure paste back in the location of your feature file. That looks good. Next, what we want to do is simply add our glue. So the glue is pretty much is where is our step definition. So it's located in this package. So I'm just going to put com.jahmal.stepdefs, and that looks good. The next thing we're going to add is the plugin. So here we're going to add like a array or open curly brackets because we're going to add multiple items in here. So the first one is going to be the summary. So it's going to give you just a simple breakdown of your report, and I want to format it as pretty. So I'm just going to make sure the formatting looks neat. And what we're going to do is for our report, we want to bring back a HTML report, and we want to save it in the target, and we want to call it Cucumber Reports. Alright, next what we want to do is add this for the JSON as well. So we're going to get the same type of situation. So let's copy and just change the file type to JSON, and it's going to go into the target folder as well, and it's going to generate a Cucumber Reports file. Alright, so we're just going to add the last one, and this is simply the monochrome equal true, and it's going to show you where you can find some of these setup. So you go to Cucumber reference, scroll down towards the bottom, and at the JUnit 4 you can see certain examples and what each of these elements do, or these functions do. So when you have some time, just go over that and you can see all the uses and all the properties associated with the Cucumber options. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just get my windows organized so I can get prepared for running. What I'm going to do is just bring in my home feature at the bottom, have my step definitions to the right, and toward the top left I have my runner file. So I'm just going to go to run as, and I'm going to click run as a JUnit test. You see I have an error popped up. What we're going to do is just go to our system preferences. We're going to go to security and privacy. Under the general tab, we're just going to click allow, and that should allow us to interact with our script. Fire it up again, and now we're just going to click open, and now our script is running exactly how we expected it. It looks good, and now we're on that silly peak page. Wonderful. Alright, so let's take a look at our report. So look at our console, we can see our test tag being back. We can see our given, when, and then statements from the Gherkin feature file. We have one scenario that has 4 steps and the time it took for it to execute. And then we have some notes here if you want to disable some of the functions. So you can take a look at that if you're interested. What I'm going to do is go towards the bottom, and I'm going to disable the message. So I'm just going to do the Cucumber properties, and I'm going to say publish that quiet equal true. Okay, so I'm just going to set that value. So what I'm going to do is just simply go to my SR test resources and then create a cucumber.properties file. So I'm just going to name it cucumber.properties. That look good. Click finish, and what we're going to do is just simply paste this cucumber.publish.quiet equal true, and we're just going to paste it in this new file. Click save, and now we have our before, which is used for setup. What I'm going to do now is add another method, and in this case it's going to be the after method. So the after method is going to be used to run right after your test is finished. So after it runs this scenario, I'm just going to say driver.quit, and what this simply is going to do is just simply quit and close the browser. So I'm just going to put that comment in there. Alright, that looks good. What we're going to do now is just simply retest this. So I'm just going to close that, and this time the script should just run, and then this should close automatically right after it's finished. So let's see what happens. Alright, script's running. You go to our silly peak page. We are on that page, and it closed. So everything happened exactly what we wanted. You don't have that extra text towards the bottom, and that's how you can get started, you know. Next, I do want to continue the series where we can start working with data tables and show you how you can write a scenario using this scenario outline. But for now, let's head over to our reports. I'm just going to refresh the project, click Cucumber Reports, and I'm just going to try to open up this file. Alright, so the file has an issue, so let me add the .html extension, and let's just refire this test up again and see if that allows us to view the file this time. Alright, everything works nicely. Let's hit refresh. And now let's head back to that folder. Go to now our file is available. Now we can see all our log and our execution, our metrics. So it brought back the feature, the tag, user refers to the person interacting with the website, our scenario. So everything is available for us. So you can also have this for your reporting purposes. But that's how you can get started with Gherkin. I also going to do a follow-up series on, you know, where you can again use the data tables I'm going to show you how you can incorporate the background, how you can use different reporting tools like extend reports, and so much more. If you did find this video helpful, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see y'all in the next video.